Thank you for joining us here at Lowry Sports Rhetoric. I am your host, Nathan.
And I'm Daimon.
And today we're going to continue in the AFC South with the Houston Texans. In 2021, they went 4-13. They were third in the AFC South, and they did not make the playoffs. On offense, they were 32 in yards, 30 in points. Defensively, they were 31 in yards allowed and 27 in points allowed.
We're going to call that not a good year. That's not a good year.
That's rough. All right. GM Nick Cassero, 2021 to present, so he was only there for 1 year. Can't really say too much about how he did. I think we'll get into, when we get into trades, we can maybe talk a little bit about.
I got some things to say about how good Nick is. I like some things that Nick has done so far. We'll be talking about that here shortly.
All right. Coach Lovie Smith, some guy you're familiar with a little bit.
I love me some Lovie. Or maybe not.
Anyways, he's the new coach. Dave Culley last year was 1 year coach, 4-13, and they fired him. I have a feeling Lovie Smith's probably going to fall into that category. Maybe not. Maybe they'll give him a little more time. This seems to be a team that just revolves coaches. So.
Do you think that there's anything to the fact that they hired Lovie for the racism claims? There's whispers. There's whispers that they only hired Lovie because the organization was getting the rep, and they wanted to get away from that. They wanted to try to be like, look, see what we did?
I'm sorry, I don't buy into
You don't buy that?
No, I don't.
I just was questioning, because to me, Lovie, why would you hire Lovie?
Yeah, I mean, because just like we just talked about the Jaguars and the coach that they hired, and it's why would you hire him? It's because they're bad organizations that don't know how to... Yeah.
But at least Peterson coached a couple of years ago.
Okay, well, yeah,
Lovie,
you're right.
Lovie hasn't coached in the NFL for a long time. He went to Illinois and was terrible at that.
He's not a good coach.
I mean, I think Lovie was an okay coach. I think he's a great defensive coordinator in his time.
Yeah.
Although I think that his bread and butter style of defense is kind of a little outdated these days, and I don't think that he necessarily adjusted the best. So we'll see how that works with Houston. But
one of my favorite things to do in the world when Lovie Smith was your coach was to laugh with you about him.
No. You were laughing. You were laughing at him at my expense, especially when the red flag would fly.
It's just ridiculous.
It was like the red flag would fly, and you would just start laughing and be like, I didn't even see what he's calling, but I know he's wrong.
It's bad
because he was never right ever.
Houston, if you don't know much about Lovie Smith, you might be in for some surprises. So.
Look, at least 20 years ago when he was the Bears head coach, he did not understand the proper usage of the challenge flag
at all.
He would challenge things that should never been challenged, and then just ignore things that were obvious.
Yeah,
routinely.
Not a great coach, in my opinion. We'll see how he turns out. All right, we're going to get into free agent additions here. Steven Nelson, cornerback from Philadelphia. He's not terrible. AJ Kahn, guard from Jacksonville. Again, you got a lineman from Jacksonville. Mario Addison, defensive end from Buffalo. He's been a little bit of a disappointment, and
so in the first guy you said he's not terrible.
Yeah, well,
you meant he's the only one of us that's not terrible. Is that what you're trying to say?
Look, I don't know. I'm just giving these reports here. Jalen Reeves, Maben, outside linebacker from Detroit. Andy Jonovich, fullback from Cleveland. You got to get that. You got to get that fullback taken care of. Rasheem Green, defensive end from Seattle. To be honest with you, like most of these guys, I don't even know anything about any of these guys. Abania Okoronkwa, outside linebacker from the Rams. I'm sure I butchered that name, as I do.
I mean, it was worth you going through this list just to hear you pronounce that.
That was not good. Guarantee his name doesn't sound anything like that. Okay, free agent additions. Oh, I'm sorry. Jeez.
Shots to the left.
I'm continuing. I thought we was going to the losses, but they just had a whole lot of free agents. Dare Akumbawala. I'm really so bad at these names. He's a running back out of Jacksonville. Again, I don't know.
I dare you to say his name again.
Here's somebody I do know a little bit about. Kyle Allen, quarterback out of Washington.
He's
not great. It's not great. I mean, I don't think Kyle Allen's terrible.
He's not good.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he got beat out by a guy who shouldn't have been in the league anyways. But anyways, yeah, Kyle Allen's he's not great. But I do know him. MJ Stewart, cornerback out of Cleveland. Fabian Morrow, cornerback out of Atlanta. They've added quite a bit in their secondary. Here's a guy I know, Marlon Mack, running back out of Indianapolis. Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the best player maybe on the whole team.
He's a starting level running back.
Yeah, I mean...
Is he a star? No, but he's a solid starting level running back.
And on this team, that might be the best player that you have. I'm sorry, I don't mean to start into this, but...
yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do. But anyways, Marlon Mack actually is a good... I think he's going to be good. I don't know. I like him. Scott Quisenberry, center out of the Chargers. He actually is good.
Yeah, he's good.
He's good. Daryl Daniels, tight end out of Arizona. I can't imagine him being very good because they don't have the greatest depth at tight ends. So, anyways. Dacian Hamilton, wide receiver out of Denver.
I think he's got some upside.
He's got upside.
He's a solid player.
And again, this is a guy who comes from
pickup.
And this is a guy that comes from a team who has good wide receivers, so you can see that. You know what I mean? They don't need to lock him up. So I agree with you. I think he has some upside. Chad Beebe? Was it Bebe's kids? Wide receiver out of Minnesota. Isaac Yedem, cornerback out of Green Bay. Jerry Hughes, defensive end out of Buffalo.
Old.
Yeah. Look, he wasn't that great with the Colts. He actually did do much better with Buffalo. So he fit their system much better, and I think he had some decent productivity there. He's
old.
Yeah, he is old. He's a little long in the tooth. When you're talking about a team like the Texans, I mean, I don't know. Like, he probably is going to be a decent player for him, as far as I'm concerned. So
maybe he'll be a linebacker coach.
Kevin Hogan, quarterback out of Tennessee. He's going to compete with Kyle Allen, and that's not much competition. All right, free agent losses. Justin Reed, safety to Kansas City. I do think that that's an actual loss. Yeah, he's a good player.
That's a loss.
Jake Martin, outside linebacker to the Jets. Tyrod Taylor, quarterback to the Giants.
Didn't need him.
I don't know. I have the thoughts on him, but it is what it is.
They didn't need him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess not. I feel bad for Tyrod Taylor. He's probably the person I feel the worst that I've ever seen in the NFL. But anyways.
Either him or Fitzpatrick. Like
it's just like their luck is awful, man.
Yeah,
it really is.
Timing all the time.
It really is. All right, A.J. Moore, safety to Tennessee. And again, I don't think A.J. Moore was bad either. So they got, like, their two safeties who I think had good play. Both of them are gone. So
I mean, I think they aged out. They aged out of what you're rebuilding.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to hang on and overpay for guys that...
I suppose.
I mean, find young guys.
I'm just saying, those are decent players. Terrence Mitchell, cornerback to the New England Patriots. DeMarcus Walker, defensive end to Tennessee. Vincent Taylor, defensive tackle to Atlanta. Jerron Christian, tackle to Kansas City. Jordan Atkins, tight end to the Giants. Eric Wilson, outside linebacker to New Orleans. Jaleel Johnson, defensive tackle to New Orleans. And Kingsley Kiki, defensive tackle to Arizona. I don't feel like there's a ton of losses because a lot of the talent that's on Houston's rough. Okay, so we saw the numbers at the beginning of it. Look, it's just not a good, well-built team. Trades: Lonnie Johnson, cornerback from Kansas City. I'm sorry, from Kansas City. Sorry, to Kansas City. I apologize. To Kansas City. 2024 7th rounder. Now, he can't be very good.
Well, I mean, they got a 7th round pick in 2 years from him. That draft is going to be loaded with corners. Okay. They'll easily replace him.
Now, here's the deal. This is the next one. Deshaun Watson, quarterback to Cleveland. In the time that I have watched the AFC South, Deshaun Watson, to me, was the biggest threat at quarterback. Like I said in the Colts video, if you watch that one, since Steve McNair, I really feel that way. I think that this is, as far as competition is concerned, he was a block that they could have built around. He didn't want to be there.
He didn't want to be there. And then after finding out about his...
exploitations?
Accusations.
Yes.
We called him Mr. Massage and Accusations in the Cleveland video. They didn't want him there.
No.
Okay, so let's review.
Did they not want him there, or was it a matter of him trying to push himself out? So, I don't know.
I don't think they wanted him there once he didn't want to be there.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
let me get into how much he got for it.
But this is the whole thing. I want to preface before you do that. He didn't want to be there, and they didn't want him there. But their GM still managed to get this.
2023 first round, 2023 third round, 2024 first round, 2024 fourth round, 2022 first round, and 2022 fourth round. That's what you call a haul.
For a guy that didn't want to be there and they didn't want to have there.
That's a haul. Who might not actually play for the team he went to.
I mean, I think this alone earns their GM Executive of the Year awards.
Sure.
I mean, that alone, he didn't want to be there. They didn't want him there. He set out an entire season to prove how much he didn't want to be there. And now might set out another season anyway because legally, the NFL doesn't want him to be anywhere.
That's a lot of capital.
That's an amazing haul.
Yeah.
Somehow they created a whirlwind of bidding for a guy that didn't want to be. I mean, there was no leverage, and to me, it's.
Okay, I'll agree with you.
It's the most amazing thing any GM did in the offseason. Yeah. That alone, that one thing, is the most amazing thing any GM. What he does with the draft, what he does moving forward, we will find out. But pulling that off is the most amazing thing I think any GM did in the offseason, from my perspective.
Sure.
I mean, you got, again, he didn't want to be there. They didn't want him there. And you get a massive haul for him. Yeah, it's insane.
And going forward, if he is a good GM and he does utilize the picks well, this could absolutely turn them around and put them in a place to compete.
And possibly
for a couple years.
A place to compete better than paying Deshaun Watson $45 million a year.
Sure. So, yeah, I agree with you. I definitely agree. Like I said, it's kind of hard in 1 year to understand what a person does, but that is a notch in the cap there.
To me, it was it was a stroke of genius. I don't know how he pulled it off.
All right. Then we got the last trade is Blake Cashman, linebacker from the Jets, for a 2023 sixth rounder. Again,
I don't have as much praise for that move as the other one.
I mean, what is it? But, all right, we got the draft here. Round one, number 3, Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback out of LSU. I personally think it was a bit of a reach. I do. I get a lot of people were high on him because of what he did as a freshman, but then he went the rest of his career injury problems.
Well, there was a lot of stuff going on.
I mean, I guess, but I don't know. I felt like there was
a coach fired, multiple scandals with the university.
I would have picked Sauce Gardner over him anyways. I felt like it was a reach. I get that he's a good player, or has at least that high potential to be a good player.
He has the potential to be.
But when I'm drafted, if I was drafted, I'm not
corners in the league kind of guys.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I don't know. I felt like it was a bit of a reach, but a lot of people did praise it, and a lot of people who probably know a lot more about football than I do said that it was a good pick. I'll have to take them for their word for it. I wouldn't have picked him. That's my point. Round number 1, number 15, Kenyon Green, a guard from Texas A&M.
I really like the kid.
Yeah.
I really like the kid.
Yeah, he's a good player. And he's got a ton of upside, and that is something.
Really like
look, if you are looking for the future, you're going to get a quarterback at some point in time. There wasn't no quarterbacks in this draft were taken that high. Do it. Get yourself linemen. Get yourself ready. Get yourself a team built. And I think that shows in what they kind of did. So, round 2, number 37, Jalen Petrie, safety out of Baylor. Love him.
Really good player.
That's a great player.
Really good player.
So these are some good picks. I mean, again, I don't know about Derek Stingley, but the other two I think are great picks.
I think he's utilizing those picks he got from Cleveland in a very good way.
All right. Round 2, number 44, John Mechie III, wide receiver out of Alabama. The guy has a ton of potential. He really does. And to get him there at round number, we've talked in other things about how the depth of the wide receiver affects things. And to get him at number 44 in the second round pick, he's a round 1 talent in most drafts, and I think that's great. Like, they did a really good job with that one.
Yeah, so I think if you look at those top 4, in a lot of drafts, each and every one of those guys is a top 20 guy.
Yeah.
So to have 4 guys that are like top 20 talent type guys in one draft,
yeah,
that is piggybacked off of the Watson trade, but that. I don't think he messed up with those picks from what I can see. I think those plays should all be good.
Absolutely. And John Mechie, again, if you go in the future and you get yourself a quarterback in another draft, because there wasn't one here, That's going to be a guy that any quarterback will be happy to
Now
have.
you've already assumed.
Okay, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
We're going
to get to that. All right, round 3, number 75, Christian Harris, linebacker out of Alabama, solid player.
I think he has the potential to be a really good linebacker. Which so you're rebuilding that defense. That defense was terrible. You're rebuilding that defense. That's a good block to build that defense around.
I mean, they could literally just throw a dart at a position and rebuild. So, I mean, good for them.
Yeah, but that's to me. Okay, round 4 is that where they got him? Or 3?
No, 3. Round 3.
Okay, but that's a starter.
Really late
that's a starter in round 3, right? That's probably a day 1 starter for that team.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
In round 3.
Round 4, number 107, Dameon Pierce, running back out of Florida.
I mean, he's explosive. He is. It's hard to know. Florida was kind of a mess. It's hard to know. It's hard to know what Dameon Pierce can be.
He's got a lot
of physical attributes. I mean, that could be one of those things where Marlon Mack is the starter at the beginning of the year, and by the end, Dameon Pierce has taken some carries.
Or a 1-2 punch with him. I mean,
Or one. I do think he complements Marlon Mack's style.
Absolutely.
Marlon Mack is that big between the tackles guy. Pierce is a kick it out, catch the ball in the backfield kind of guy with speed.
Yeah.
So I do think that's a good compliment for a 1-2 punch. For sure.
It's not a terrible pick. I like it. All right, round 5, number 150, Thomas Booker, defensive tackle out of Stanford.
High upside guy. A lot of people like his upside.
Round 5, number 170, Tegan Quatoriano, tight end out of Oregon State.
No clue.
I mean, I watched the Pac-12, and I don't really know much about him. So it is what it is. Round 6, number 205, Austin DeCoulius, offensive tackle out of LSU. And that rounds up their drafts. Okay.
I mean, I think that was a really solid draft. I think we could say that's a really solid draft. I don't know that we talked about that too much in our draft video because it was Houston.
I mean, I kind of look at it like it's not. I don't know. It's not the best draft out there, but yeah, like you said, it's solid. It's solid. I like the first 4 picks for sure. You know what I mean? Even though I felt like Derek Stingley, I'm gonna stop beating that to death, but I do feel like he was a little bit of a stretch. So they could have had sauce, man. They could have had sauce. All right, Texans starters, offense. This projections: Davis Mills, last year's rookie that they drafted. Who, when they drafted him, Daimon said, this might end up being one of the better quarterbacks in the draft.
What I said was I would rather have him than Justin Fields and still have our first round pick next year.
Yeah.
And have whatever we would have picked in the first round with him.
That is what you said.
That's what I said.
That is what you said.
And I think that
all right,
those numbers justify that position.
I'm not going to argue with you. 2,664 yards, 16 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 44 rushing. He
wasn't the starter from day 1 either, right? So that's
no, I'm pretty sure he was starter from day 1.
Oh, I thought that they started with Tyrod for a couple of games before.
No, I don't think so. I think it was David Mills from the beginning. But either way, that's not terrible numbers for a rookie for sure.
A rookie on a bad team.
On a bad team.
He doesn't have a bunch of weapons.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a defense, the worst defense in the league. So he's on the field.
It's really the worst offense in the league too.
But my point is he's on the field playing from behind. First quarter on every game. Everybody knows they got to pass. Everybody knows, he doesn't have any good weapons to throw to, and he still managed. I don't know. I think that to me, that was an impressive rookie season for a guy that wasn't expected to be an impressive rookie.
Well, and look, I saw him at Stanford. He's an intelligent guy. I think he was underrated. I really do. I think he should have been a little bit higher up. But good for the Texans that they picked him up. And I agree with you, Damon. I think this is a guy who very much could have that possibility of becoming a decent quarterback.
I would like to see them build the entire team around him and give him one season with a complete team built around him and see what he can do before they decide that he's not the guy. Personally, that's what I would like to see. I think what he did last year shows that that's
potential.
That's a smart, or at least I just think he earned that opportunity, from my perspective. And I think it would be a smart way to do it for the GM because build the rest of that team up, and then if he's not the guy, then we've seen this with your Colts, we've seen this with the Buccaneers. If you have a team that looks like it's Super Bowl ready and not the quarterback, then there are veteran quarterbacks on teams that can't make the Super Bowl that go, I think I want to go there. Stafford in LA, Brady in Tampa Bay. Matt Ryan with you guys. This is becoming a new trend in the league. So I would build a team around this guy and then have the cap space available to say, whoever that guy is, I'm not even going to project, but whoever that guy is 5 years from now that's like tired of being on the team he's on that's not getting it done, but he's a high-level quarterback, and he goes, I think it's time for me to go to Houston. Why don't you get me to Houston? And they have the cap space and the team built to make that playoff run. I think that's smart. And I think Mills is good enough. You can give him his opportunity and then decide, no, let's bring in another guy.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you. All right, running back Marlon Mack. Last year he had 101 yards, 2 receiving, and 8 yards. Two receptions and 8 yards. He didn't play much.
He didn't play much.
He didn't play much at all.
Yeah, this is his opportunity to get back to being a starter.
That's right.
We talked about the draft pick and push him from behind. I think that's a solid 1-2 punch for a young team.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I look for good things out of Marlon Mack.
Not bad.
Wide receiver Brandon Cooks. Last year with 90 receptions, 1,037 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
Is Cooks
obviously
like the most enigma in the league?
What do you mean?
This dude gets traded all the time.
He puts up good numbers everywhere.
He puts up good numbers, but yeah, he's on a different team every year.
Yeah.
I feel like it's impossible to know what Brandon Cooks is. I don't know why people don't want to hang on to him.
Yeah, I don't know.
But he feels like a good wide receiver, especially for this team. He feels like him and Michi combined should be a pretty good.
I agree.
A pretty good wide receiver core.
I agree. And then wide receiver Nico Collins. He was a rookie last year. 60 receptions, 446 yards, and a touchdown.
That's not terrible for a rookie.
It's not, especially on this team. All right, John Michi III. Obviously, like you mentioned, he has so much upside, and I have a feeling he's going to be a really good receiver here for Davis Mills. Tight end Brevin Jordan. He was a rookie last year. 20 receptions, 178 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I expect to see that production go up.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of athletic ability, a lot of upside. Tight end is a position that we've seen in the past. Sometimes can take guys 2 or 3 years to really get comfortable in that transition from college to the pro level. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he ups his production this year, or maybe struggles again this year and then ups it next year. Because I think that tight end is one of those that you have to kind of bring them along.
All right, fullback Andy Junovich. Their offensive line, their starting offensive line, left tackle Jeremy Tunzel, he's good. Left guard Kenyon Green, center Justin Britt, right guard AJ Kane, and right tackle Titus Howard.
I mean, I think that's a solid young offensive line. I think that's like you said, that'll keep Davis Mills on his feet, and you'll get to see what Davis Mills is.
That'll be kind of a bright spot there on the Texans. All right, left defensive end, Jonathan Grenard, 33 tackles, 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 4 pass deflects. Pretty decent play there. Left defensive tackle Malik Collins, 29 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, 1 interception, 1 pass deflect. Right defensive tackle Ross Blacklock, 22 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 pass deflects. Their right defensive end, Rasheem Green, 48 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 4 pass deflects, came over from Seattle. The linebacker, Neville Hewitt, 60 tackles. That's it, just 60 tackles. Linebacker, Christian Kirksey, 93 tackles, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 interception, 8 pass deflects.
Those are solid numbers.
Yeah, I mean, those solid numbers.
Not a bad defense.
That's right. There's other linebacker, Camus Gregoire Hill. 108 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception, and 3 pass deflects. It's decent. Left cornerback, Derek Stingley Jr., which is a rookie.
One of the best players in the draft. Absolute home run pick.
Yep. All right. Strong safety, Eric Murray, 76 tackles, 1 interceptions, 4 pass deflects. Free safety, Terrence Brooks, 21 tackles, 1 pass deflect. Right.
That's a null.
And then
we like him. He's a null. We like him.
21 tackles and 1 pass deflect.
I didn't say he was good. I just said he's a null and we like him.
Right cornerback, Steven Nelson from the Eagles, 50 tackles, 1 interception, 7 pass deflects. All right, let's get into this. Look, like we said, the Texans are they got draft capital going forward, and if they do it right, they can build a team, and eventually that they might be able to compete. That's not where they're at right now. They're still going to be bottom feeders, so I don't think that that's a surprise even to Texans fans.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I look at it like I said. I love the what you got back from Watson. I liked their draft. It was a solid draft. I like the fact that it seems like for now they're just going to try to build around Davis Mills, which I think is smart. You know, we talked about in the Jacksonville video, here's a team that went out and spent a bunch of money on guys. Houston could have done the same thing. He chose not to. He chose to go.
Know who you are.
I'm assuming he went, why would I want to spend a bunch of money on guys now? Let's build this team through the draft for a couple more seasons and then use that money to address the holes where we miss on draft picks. If Derek Stingley isn't the guy that's a number one corner and he only ends up being just a solid corner, then we'll go get a big corner in free agency in a couple of years. Why wouldn't you wait to see what these draft picks do before doing that? Like that's being smart. So, to me, you have talked about for years that you don't have to worry about Houston because even when they get like a good player like Watson or a good player like Hopkins, they're going to find a way to screw it up. Which they did. Like O'Brien seemed to be terrible. They had a loaded roster with J.J. Watt and Clowney and like a loaded roster and struggled to make the playoffs and do nothing in the playoffs with those teams. So, but that's the old Houston. This feels like a different guy. I think you got to give this guy a chance. And unlike the Jaguars guy where I said, so far, not impressed, not seeing any moves. In fact, seeing things that make me question his thinking. Other than the Lovie Smith hire, and again, I'm not entirely sure if the Lovie Smith hire was the GM's pick or somebody else's choice. But other than the Lovie Smith hire, I think everything else that he's done is good. And even I would even say this with Lovie Smith, because as a Bears fan, I have to be honest about this. Lovie took us to a certain level. And I think with young players, Lovie is a player. Urlacher and those guys love Lovie Smith. They still love Lovie Smith. They will go to bat for that guy. So he is a guy that players are going to love. And he's a guy that teaches. And he's a guy that pushes players to get better. So I think that's the part where it maybe makes sense. Like much like Davis Mills. Like Davis Mills and Lovie Smith are going to be the guys that take the rest of the team to the precipice. And then the new head coach and the quarterback are going to come in to take them to the promised land. Like that's what it feels like to me. I don't think that's a terrible way to build a team. In fact, I kind of think it's the right way to build a team. So to me, so far, I like what I'm seeing from the GM way better than like the Jacksonville guy, for example.
I mean, it's hard to argue that, and I definitely agree with you. I think that those decisions that they make. So here's a team that maybe someday,
3, 4, 5 years down the road, from now, you get excited.
Yeah, just understand that that's not who they are at the moment.
But you got players to look at, and that, like, does Michi look like he could be a number one wide receiver? Does Stingley do we see the Stingley? Does he shut down people? Does Davis Mills continue to improve and look like, hey, this guy's got stuff to work with? Is that young offensive line creating holes for Marlon Mack? Those are the things you're looking for. You're not worried about wins. You're looking for things to be excited about for the future, and that's better than, in my book, watching a bunch of stars that couldn't win get traded for nothing, which was what was happening the previous group of people in charge of this team. Yeah. Right? So, improvement in my mind. Yeah.
Okay.
But no threat to your goals. No threat to your goals.
That's
just the way it is. Yeah. Sorry.
Yep. Well, thank you for giving us a watch. If you got anything out of this content, give us a like, give us a subscribe.
Put something in the comments. Tell us why we're wrong. Tell us what you think we're right. Tell us that you actually enjoyed the Houston Texans. I'd love to hear Houston Texans tell us if they like this kind of rebuild and how they feel about the direction of the team in the post-Watson, O'Brien, Watts era. I'd love to hear those comments. That would be very interesting.
Thank you for giving us a watch, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.